That is the biggest challenge we face, is getting parents to actually lean in.
Because sometimes I write a list on my whiteboard and I have 10 habits. And basically what I'll try to do is get them done in the day. What I love that you guys do is you bring these skills in at a young age.
The kind of ironic thing about exerting more energy is you end up getting more energy.
Why did the other dad look like Superman? I've had that one a lot. He was almost on the edge of tears,
really?
You know, when he was saying that back to me. It's something he was obviously holding. Something like that can hit quite hard, and a lot of people I've had, it's been because their child has said something.
Addicted to the wrong foods and all this sort of stuff, addicted to the wrong habits. As parents, we don't face the monsters in our life, then we literally ask our kids to do it for us.
Bedtime routine, put your phone away.
Yeah.
Switch your phone off. Train, you're like, I worked hard this morning. I'm gonna make sure that I get a good breakfast. I'm gonna fuel my mind. I'm gonna fuel my body correctly.
But I've learned that pain is a signal to move, not a signal to rest. What are the biggest challenges that parents face when it comes to staying healthy, maintaining their weight, losing weight, making sure they're showing up every single day for their habits, having a healthy daily habit routine, or making sure they're having an active lifestyle, encouraging their kids to live a healthy life? We're going to be answering all of those questions for you today with Jason Grimmer, who is my guest today on the Warrior Academy podcast. Jason has come from 365 Lifestyle Hub, where he helps parents all over Dubai develop their physiques, stick to a daily habit routine, and improve their health. You're going to gather so many insights from this episode, so many hacks that you can implement in your own life to make sure you stay on track and maybe create a change in your life that you've been wanting for a long time. Don't miss out on this episode. Welcome, Jason, to the Warrior Academy podcast. Amazing to have you here.
Great, mate. Great to be here. Thank you.
So I've seen your podcast many times. You've got an amazing podcast. It's the Lifestyle?
It's called the Lifestyle Hub podcast.
Lifestyle Hub podcast. Some amazing guests on there. And actually, we go to the same gym. So I've been, bumping into you pretty much 4 times a week for a long time now. And every time we've talked, there's been something interesting that I know that our parents at home watching this would really benefit from listening in on. So for anyone who doesn't know who you are, could you give us a brief background of who you are and what you do?
Cool. So my name's Jason. I'm Australian born and raised. I came out to Dubai 6 years ago, and I've specialized in the health and fitness industry now for 12 years. So that's kind of my bread and butter. That's everything I've known. I've come from a sporting background in the past back in Brisbane. And so my focus out here is to basically educate people on the best ways to stay healthy and fit 365 days a year, create a lifestyle and make it something as enjoyable as possible.
Amazing. And the concept there, what is kind of the core concept of is it 365?
So the business is called the 365 Physique.
Yeah. And
the main focus around the program is to basically incorporate all modalities and methodologies of fitness, but create a sustainable long-term approach. So trying to create a community, build our nutrition, our fitness, and cover all the aspects in the best way we can possible. So it tests me at times, but it's what I love to do.
Yeah, right. I think for a lot of people watching this, there'll be expats. And I think that expats have perhaps different challenges to a lot of people, especially in Dubai. There's the whole Dubai stone, right, that everyone seems to be putting on when they move out here. And I think that, simplicity is the key to brilliance, right? Bruce Lee. And for me, like everything we do in the Warrior Academy is around simplifying character development so parents can actually implement it.
Yes.
That when things aren't simple, there's hesitation. Where there's hesitation, there's an action.
That's right.
And so I feel like a lot of what you do is analyzing what's out there, simplifying it so people can actually do it. And one of the core things that I know you're very aligned with us on is community. That seems to be a massive focus for your business, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's something that I've come from a sporting background. So my whole life has been around teams and team environments, and people I feel have always performed the best when they're surrounded by other like-minded people. It's a great environment for people who don't know what that might feel like to come into and integrate and learn from. I've got clients now that have come through the system, and I call them like 365 almost ambassadors or leaders, because they could actually take the sessions now. And they've come just off the floor, they're a desk job and whatnot, no intro to fitness, and now they could actually probably run sessions or give advice to other members. And I love that I've been able to create that methodology for people to learn. But like you said, it's so important to just keep it simple.
Yeah.
There's so much out there.
I bet there's so many mistakes that parents make that if they just had a simple process, they wouldn't make them. That would actually be a good thing to go through. Yeah. If you had to highlight the top 5 to 10 mistakes that parents make when it comes to being healthy, managing their weight, nutrition, whatever it is, training, what would those be? What would be the first one, the first mistake that
I think the first one would have to be, I would say it's up top with hesitation or finding time. Because typically a lot of parents will say, I just don't have the time. Kids have come along, work's busy, life was always stressful, and I just don't have the time to allocate any time towards health and fitness. And I think prioritizing time is a massive one. The other one would be the hesitation. I think hesitation or not knowing where to start or having the right information to make a good decision is the big one as well.
So with time, that's a really interesting one. We've all got the same number of hours in the day. And, some of the people I've interviewed in here, it's amazing. The stories they've got kids, some of their kids with additional need, who need a lot of support while they're running their own businesses. And it's just amazing what some people are able to do within those 24 hours and other people aren't.
Yes.
What do you put that down to?
I think it's priority.
Right.
It's priority.
It's what you value.
100%. There's no two ways about it. I always use one of my clients as an example. He is a partner of a law firm. He has 2 kids, and he's gone through countless transformations with me. Follows a fairly regimented nutrition plan and manages to just continually find time in his day for things that are important to him or his family. So when I kind of get somebody who comes and I always screen people and I'll kind of get to know a bit about their lifestyle because it's so important. As a trainer or a coach or any sort of person in that position, you need to understand that client more than just that 60 minutes in the gym.
Yeah.
For me to be able to facilitate the best results for them, it's like, okay, what are you dealing with when you're not with me? Because I'm with them, 3 hours a week, communicate a little bit, maybe 20 minutes worth of messaging throughout the week, if that, if they're lucky. So then from there, it's like, what are the external factors that are going to limit you? And for a lot of people, it's like that time management.
Right.
I think we do all have the same hours in the day, and it's just how we use them.
How effective you are using them.
Yeah.
Priorities is a really interesting one. Do you think that a lot of people come to you to reorganize their priorities because they feel they should? Or do you think they genuinely want to do it?
I feel like initially they think they should.
Right.
And then
They're overweight, they're like, I need to change this. But what got them in that position in the first place was that their priorities were different.
Yeah, and you know what? The amount of people that actually reach out and then I follow up and then you kind of don't hear back. So for a lot of people, it's like,
ticking the box.
it's not even that
I've tried.
I've not even said anything or said anything. There's literally no, like I've said, hey, thanks for reaching out.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's kind of like,
Wow.
I need
So this is like on Instagram or something?
Yeah, it's like, I know what it is because I hear from them in a few months and they're following me like still. And it's like, I needed to reach out to a trainer. I'll reach out. Reached out. Obviously work's gotten busy, life's gotten busy.
Yeah.
I'll get back to it later.
Do you know what I think? I think that someone in that situation feels motivated for a second. They might, if they're on Instagram or whatever, they've seen something which is like, yeah, I'm going to get it.
Right.
This is going to be me. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to find a trainer. I know a trainer. I've seen his videos, sends a message. But before you've got back, the kind of feeling has gone, and suddenly they're like, it's not actually that important right now. Until the next time they feel they want to make a change, right?
Yeah, it's tricky. Do you guys face a similar thing? I think it's different with kids, right? Because parents are so quick to prioritize their children before themselves. Do you guys find?
I think again, it's a priority thing. I think that a lot of parents come to us with the intention of developing their child's confidence, their concentration, their conduct.
Yeah.
When we turn around to parents and say, we can help you with this, we can create the environment, give them the philosophy and the ethos and the system to do it, but it requires you to work at home with them. That is the biggest challenge we face, is getting parents to actually lean in. So much so that, we've got a lot of nannies, especially in Dubai, dropping their kids off here. And for our program to be really effective, there's a daily habit ritual they've got to do at home. They've got to plan and set rewards and goals, all this sort of stuff. And for a lot of parents who, if they're not actually coming here and seeing what's going on, and it's the nanny is doing that for them, how do they actually have that at home? How do they actually bring those lessons home? So we now train nannies for free in our program. So over the summer, we just train nannies up in the whole carried on program.
Yes.
So then we bridge that gap.
Amazing.
But it's definitely the intention's there, right? Like I want to improve my child's confidence. I want to get in shape.
That's right.
But intention is one thing, and then it's like, well, you need accountability to make sure you actually stick to that.
That's right. And
so, time and priorities is a really good point and a really interesting topic. Like it was interesting because, the last year and a half, I've done a massive transformation, I guess, in terms of how I've approached training and stuff. And, I've tried to stay at about 10% body fat. And I remember speaking to Tom, my trainer, about it. He was like, you might get to 10% and hate it and just be like, this is not the life you want to live. turns out I really enjoy it. I like being active all the time and going, spending my days walking and training and eating good food. But for a lot of people, they are far happier not being super lean.
That's right.
And being 15 to 20%, but being healthy.
Yes.
And, it's their priority is more on social or more on this. And, having that much discipline in every aspect of your life, for a lot of people, puts them off. And I guess that's a priority thing, right?
That's a priority thing as well. And I think it's trying to find what you want to get out of it too. Some people like the challenge of going all the way. I think everybody should find their best conditioning once.
Yeah.
So I think...
So you got a benchmark.
Yeah, I like that you push yourself there. And some people do love it. I have clients that love it and they fight to stay in that position. Every year comes around for their birthday, they'll prep to get to the
Okay, so every year they're like, that is the point.
Yeah, they've got like a milestone, or it's like, all right, I can push harder this time. A lot will get there and they'll bounce back and they'll say, I never want to go there again. And as long as they've been taken there in the right way, and I think you've been there in the right way, with the right guidance, there are wrong ways to do it, where you put your body through obviously too much. And if anyone's putting you through that, I think there probably are different methods. So if you've been down that road and it's not turned out, don't give it up, because I think there is the right pathway where you've got the balance across the board.
Just needs a more holistic approach.
It does, for that person.
If you work with a good trainer, and actually one of the things I'd love to talk to you about is what makes a good trainer. We can go to that later, but I think when you do work with a good trainer, they look at the whole picture. They're not just looking at, that's right, we need to get you from A to B. They're looking at how, they already know how your mindset's going to change, how you could develop, insecurities or have issues with food or whatever it is, right? So that they're already thinking 3 moves ahead. So let's just go back to this then. So priority, a massive one. The other one was hesitation.
So I think it's like not knowing where to start. That could be with who, what type of fitness. I always try to encourage people, like, especially a lot of people will reach out to me on socials and be like, hey, I'm really struggling. I'm not in a position to like invest in this now or anything now. I just don't know what to do. Where do I start? And I'm like, guys, like, I like that you follow me for maybe some sort of inspiration at times, but I'm not, here to sort of sell you to training necessarily straight away. I was like, what you can do is chuck your runners on, go for a walk. Start with a walk. Start with something. So when someone's out there hesitating and like, I don't have the time, I'm just like, all right, take the kids, go for a walk around the lake, or go. Dubai's gotten so great these days with the places that you can walk. I mean, the weather's getting better. So you can just start by doing some form of health and fitness and allocating that time. And then you start to level it up. Social sport, getting into a gym, trying classes, doing yoga, home YouTube workouts, whatever it might be, aside from whatever's going to be efficient, sometimes it's just starting. And if that's just a walk, it starts there. And it compounds.
Have you read the book Atomic Habits?
I have.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. Yeah, I bet you read quite a lot.
I don't read. I audiobook.
Okay.
And Tom's actually sent me probably about 10 books in the last month. So I've got my library's like this. So yeah,
got loads of homework then. So that book's great. And for me, habits are the whole game. Like, it's not like a little bit of the game. It is the game.
That's right.
Right. It's like when I look at the Warrior Academy in our system, we've got a goal setting cadence, which first of all, we start with the 8-year moonshot, which is achieving a black belt for the kids, but for the parents, it's a black belt character, right? So 8 years is the moonshot. And if you look at Kennedy's speech with the moonshot and going to the moon, it wasn't actually about getting to the moon. It was about, if you position yourself to try and get to the moon, you're going to be a better person, a better society, a better country as a result of that, even if you don't reach it, because you've got this impossible target to try and reach. So that's what we build into what we're doing. We then break that down, into yearly goals, termly goals, monthly goals, weekly goals, and a daily habit routine. So that's building the fabric of what we do, the whole concept of daily habits. And it's really interesting because a lot of people don't stick to habits. They struggle with it. And I think it's because they do too much too soon. And so I've got this system called layering, where basically I take one habit and just start with that one habit. Cement that habit for at least 2 weeks before you put another one on. Like, a lot of people will have they'll get excited. Maybe the sort of people who message you, on a Saturday night at 1 a.m.
That's right.
Suddenly want to get in shape, and they're like, right, I'm going to make a change in my life now. They've got the whole list on meditation in the morning, and then and the things I'm grateful for, and then the long walk, and then breath work, and all this sort of stuff, right? Ice bath, and then day 2, they just something goes. Day 3, something else goes. Day 4, they start. And with layering, I think it puts you in a position where you basically collect wins. So you do 2 weeks where you just smash it out, then another 2 weeks, then another, and you can put something else in. There was a really interesting story I heard about a PT, and he had a client who they just hated the gym. They could never stick to it, all this sort of stuff, right? And he said, right, we're going to work on this holistically rather than just try and get you from point A to point B. And we're gonna see how we can encourage you to actually change your life around this. So you're gonna go to the gym every single day, but you're only allowed to be there for 5 minutes and you can't train. So the client goes to the gym, sits down, watches everyone train for 5 minutes, goes home. After 2 weeks of doing that, layer one, they've now built a habit of going to the gym and they're bored. They're like, what can I do now? He's like, now you're gonna go to the gym, you're gonna do one set in those 5 minutes or one exercise, then you're going to go home. Of course, 2 weeks after that, it's 3 sets, then it's 30 minutes, then it's 60 minutes, right? Wow. To the point where now it's just a complete habit where they're actually asking to do more.
Yes.
So I think you can trick your system. Yeah, you can kind of trick your system into wanting more by holding yourself back a little bit.
That's right.
And leaving a little bit in the tank. I think that's quite a clever way to do it.
It can get overwhelming. Like at the moment in our current phase, I basically we've got a 3-month stint in the moment. We've phased in one habit every week at the moment, but in the first 4 weeks, it's our foundational stuff. So I've kind of been a little bit more like, guys, like, you know these. So it's like we did water, we did the steps, we've done sleep, and we've done meditation. So the first 3 are ones that I've cemented with everybody when they start with me, and it's stuff that we'll track through like a Whoop or Apple Watch, etc. And then the meditation was like the main external. And then next week, before I bring them all in, it's like a week just to try and get all 4. So each week is like focus on one, and I kind of check with them each day, and they'll kind of update me on how their success has been, and then we'll add them on into the week 6 and then onwards to week 12. But I think I've made the mistake myself, even as a trainer. I still do it. So what you're saying actually is quite valuable, because sometimes I write a list on my whiteboard and I have 10 habits, and basically what I'll try to do is get them done in the day. And then I'll grade myself out of 10. And then over the course of the week, I give myself a score out of 70. Generally what will happen, aside from whether or not I put too many, when I find time for the things that are important and that score is higher, I look back at the week and go, that was a good week. Like there were wins, I had opportunities come my way, I feel good, my training's been great. Some days I don't get all 10, right? So maybe don't take my advice on take your advice on this one, less is more. But I think having the intention sometimes there, even if you don't hit them all, can still it's still something in your mind. It's still rolling. It's like, okay, I know that's something that's important. Let's say start with 3 or 5, or in your case, it's the 1 per week and you build on that. What I love that you guys do is you bring these skills in at a young age, because I'm working with people now that are, 30, 40, some cases 45 plus, and to just instill basic habits to them is basically unheard of.
Yeah, right.
And it's something
what a skill, right? Like learning to understand how we work as humans is just so important, and developing a good habit system where you can identify a good habit, learn how to implement it and learn how to keep it and make it sustainable is something that's going to benefit the rest of your life, not just with your training and your nutrition, but also with your relationships, with your work, with everything you do, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's so important, and I think it's something that people need to put more focus into. But it helps when it comes through at a younger age. Yeah. And these are, so many things that I teach to people at, their 30s and their 40s, is I still believe that it should be coming through somewhere at the education system, in our youth. And unfortunately, it's not there, but it's getting better. Yeah. And
one of the ways I look at it is the power of 3. So if you look at the number 3 has got a funny magical power, I think. Like, it's easy to remember things in 3. It's easy to understand things in 3. It's easy to put a message across when there's 3 points. 4 is a bit too much. 2 is not enough. 3 seems to be the magic number, right? And I see that with habits as well. So there are 3 core problems that children face when it comes to developing character: confidence, conduct, concentration. We see them as 3 circles overlapping. And so when we develop a daily habit routine, it's around those 3 circles. And the idea is that the whole daily habit routine takes 3 minutes. So 3, 3, 3, right? And so the 3 minutes max could be, they meditate for 60 seconds. Even at a young age, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds are doing it. They do something physical to boost their confidence, like press ups or squat jumps, whatever it is, or they write some affirmations down, or something that's just to do with confidence. And then conduct could be either writing down 3 things they're grateful for, again 3, so the power of 3 is in there as well, or doing something to help someone in the house, which could be a simple chore around the house, right? Laying the table or whatever it is. And so we say to them, look, you've got to do these 3 things, which takes less than 3 minutes every morning. If you fail one day, take that one thing that you failed on off, because it's obviously lower in your priorities, and do the other 2 for a week until you're able to bring it back on again. So you're kind of mitigating the potential for losing that habit.
Yes.
which I think is really cool.
It's the right way to learn the habit system, isn't it? To not be overwhelmed and to
to be excited by it. It's that's how we're gonna crack it.
Yeah,
I think it's teaching that from a young age, which then would alleviate a lot of the problems you're facing with your clients, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'd love to kind of see how the students, especially that you guys come out through the academy, how they are in 20 years from now.
Yeah.
Are they the ones going to the gym looking for training? Like, who knows? Or have they built the foundations or learnt the foundations to be able to train others? Or to at least, take care of their main needs, which is staying fit, healthy, focusing on those important things.
Yeah, definitely. I can show you the instructors, and they'll, they've got incredible characters forged in the dojo, right? And it's like whenever they're teaching their students, they're referring back to the things they learned, the seeds that were planted. It's amazing to see how that energy and focus then kind of leads their whole life. Okay, cool. So let's talk about the next challenge that you feel parents might face when it comes to staying fit, healthy.
Yeah, so we said time, hesitation. I think it's also fitting it into their lifestyle in the sense that it doesn't need to be something external. Food doesn't necessarily need to be something that's just your plan. It's like learning, like nutrition. Let's say nutrition is as a heading on point number 3. I think knowing that you can also eat healthy and it's going to benefit the family as well. I think a lot of parents think they need to go on some crash diet. They need to be eating totally different. They have to cook for themselves and then cook for the kids, etc. I think there's ways that you can actually factor in that one meal time for them and for their children. And the parents that I've found that have been able to kind of take a little bit of time to figure out how to do that are the ones that they're still managing time to sit down together. Their kids are watching what they're eating. They're looking up to what they're eating. It builds the right, I guess, environment for their kids to also learn about nutrition as well. So such an important area.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? When you look at, we have a lot of children whose parents come to us and they're fairly blunt in how they approach it. They say, look, my child's overweight.
Yeah.
Can you make them skinny? And they'll say that to us. And the first thing we'll say is that we can provide them with training in here, which will help. Yeah. But fundamentally, it's something you need to do at home in the way in which you live. And
that's right.
But kids model behavior, right? So if the parents aren't living a healthy life, having the right food, being active, the kids are going to follow those footsteps.
That's right. That's a big one, and I see that all the time with people, and it kind of falls into the same category as even just adults exercising. So many people, when my parents will start training and they're exercising, the kids will want to join in, like, oh, Mom, can I jump in and can you show me what you're doing? Or I've got them doing stretching at home.
Yeah.
So the kids will jump down and start stretching with them. And for me, I think that's a massive win, because then not only are they spending quality time together, the child's also learning, different movements, or just learning that there's an application for a certain activity at certain points in the day, and it's bonding. And
do you know what? It's also it's bonding, right? And I think especially with busy parents in Dubai who are often here as an expat for a career opportunity or a business opportunity, and they're typically overwhelmed with work. They've got a huge workload. There's a lot of pressure. They feel this huge sense of guilt, I think, with not spending enough time around their kids. But then when they are with their kids, they're tired from work, so they're watching Netflix or they're on their phones or whatever it is. They're distracted. Right. It's not being truly present. It's not actually, having quality time. And so I think the missing ingredient there is if they were actually doing something active, which they can easily incorporate their children into.
That's right.
The kind of ironic thing about exerting more energy is you end up getting more energy. So you think you're going to be even more tired by doing a little bit of training at home. You're going to actually have more energy. But also you're giving your kids the lesson of, we're active, we're an active family, we're healthy by doing this, right?
That's right. The amount of parents that have told me when I've sat down with them, and the first conversation we've had is like, so why are you here? What's really got you here? And I try to dig deep and find out the real reasons, and not those kind of surface level answers. The amount of times I've had, answers where the child has actually said something to the parent that has made them feel, physically, low on confidence. And Dad, why the other dads, look like Superman?
Yeah.
I've had that one a lot, and I had a client come down and he was, he was almost on the edge of tears,
really?
When he was saying that back to me. It's something he was obviously holding quite close to his chest.
So he feels that his kids aren't looking at him as the main role model in that.
That's right. They were kind of, when they're getting picked up and they're seeing the other dads, and they're, kids are smart these days.
Yeah.
They're subjected to obviously so many different social channels where they're seeing superheroes and different shapes and physiques and you name it. So I think they're able to kind of tell and clue onto these things. And I think something like that can hit quite hard. And for a lot of people I've had, it's been because their child has said something.
Yeah.
And I think, it's a great thing to see that has caused the next step or that action.
Yeah. And I bet that they're almost driven clients. It's funny how we'll rarely do things for ourselves, but we'll do it for someone else.
Always.
Right? It's like, people won't make a change in their life until they realize that what they're doing impacts someone else's life. And it's funny when you look at an adult who's got insecurities or been through bullying, or in this situation is living an unhealthy lifestyle and addicted to the wrong foods and all this sort of stuff, and addicted to the wrong habits. One of the things I was saying in a previous podcast on here was, we, as parents, if we don't face the monsters in our life, then we literally ask our kids to do it for us. And so if you as a parent are addicted to these unhealthy habits, you're basically saying to your child, over to you to see if you can beat it.
That's right.
And I think when they have that light bulb moment where they suddenly realize they're being unhealthy and it's like, this is now how your kid's going to live.
Yes.
I think that's a very, very powerful driving force to make a change in their own life, right?
That's right. And there are a lot of people that will come in, and I think that awareness is becoming bigger and bigger now, especially in this region. Because unfortunately, I think when I first got here, it was a lot less. And unfortunately,
how long have you been in now?
I've been 6 years.
6 years.
I think it's improved even since then.
Yeah.
But I think
Dubai now seems like this massive, fitness crazy place, right?
It's a way that, it's great to see parents are taking kids to social sport. They're playing social sport. They're training. The amount of different facilities that are popping up every single week is huge. So when I got here, it was different. I know a lot of other trainers have been here longer than me and seen the fitness industry, change completely. You've been here how long, Seb?
Almost 4 years. Or 4 and a bit years.
Okay, so we haven't seen Dubai 10 years prior to now. But from what I've heard and a lot of people I've spoken to, the rate of childhood obesity was definitely a major issue, and the awareness around parents encouraging exercise. So it's perfect to see both of those things starting to align now.
Yeah.
So,
what's driving that change?
Definitely awareness.
Awareness. Do you think it's awareness, or do you think that it's... I see the Instagram lifestyle in Dubai it's such a unique place, like a bubble, I think, with that, right? Like, I'm from the countryside in England. The focus on looking good in the countryside in England is very low. In Dubai, it seems very high. And a big part of that is checking your weight, making sure you're in good shape, looking after yourself, all this sort of stuff. That can either be really healthy or really unhealthy.
Yes.
So I wonder if do you think maybe it's the drive from social media that's causing that, maybe not awareness, but a shift in priorities?
Definitely. Social media is definitely playing a part. There's no word of a lie there. And especially in Dubai, I feel like people, aside from having, potentially a little bit more, disposable income that they can put onto different activities and potentially in other places of the world might not have the options. I still believe that, social media is definitely, the drive for that. I think the reason I see this slightly differently is from Australia, from Brisbane in particular, we're naturally very active and very exercise and fitness focused.
Yeah.
So growing up for me, that was just like all we did. You're outside playing sport. Everyone's kind of up to the gym early. Most things shut early in the night. No one's really out. There's exceptions, but I'm saying the general culture itself is more sport and health and fitness oriented.
Yeah.
So when I came over here, it was like a bit of an alarming surprise that people were so focused, away from that at late nights and drinking and working hard and stress through the roof, no sleep, functioning on zero sleep almost. So to see it start to shift now would be, one to social media, but two, obviously, I think the awareness of the benefits too.
Yeah, right.
So many people talking about the benefits. There's so much more accessible information now. So I think that helps.
Yeah, that's cool. So it's not just a pressure thing, it's an awareness thing, and a positive move really.
Yeah.
Other problems, challenges that parents might face?
The timing and allocating too much time to exercise.
Oh, really?
I think
they think they
need to. I don't think you need as much. You don't need as much time as you think. Nothing. I had a friend of mine, and it's hard for me to sometimes speak from a parent's perspective. I can't speak from a parent's perspective because I'm not a parent. But I've had a good friend of mine, and basically he was doing just 20-minute workouts, right. And he just swam.
That was enough.
He was like, honestly, I'm training 5 days a week. I'm doing 20-minute workout, chest, back, legs, arms, cardio, whatever it might be. I've not missed a day. I've done 20 minutes. I'm going to the gym, doing my 20-minute session. Really, he's conscious on the clock. I've seen him train.
Yeah,
it's right, 20 minutes, really? I'm out. This is kids' time.
It's almost like a CrossFit kind of vibe, isn't it?
Yeah, and honestly, it's still, it's still got in great shape, and he was obviously conscious of his food, but it's like you don't need to spend an hour, 2 hours plus in the gym. You need to be efficient and focused with the timing.
Yeah.
That's a big mistake I think parents will make.
Just a quick shout out to the guys at Shield who manage this podcast, come up with the strategy behind the podcast, help me schedule interviews, as well as do all of the editing and the producing of the podcast. Without them, we wouldn't be able to produce this podcast. If you would like to create your own podcast, I can't recommend the Shield team enough. They have done well over 100 episodes for me over the last few years, and I've been so pleased with the results. So have a look in the description of this video or the podcast episode, and you'll see how to get in touch with them yourself. It's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, there are lots of communities out here that focus, well, not necessarily communities, but gyms or methodologies that focus specifically on short bursts, aren't there?
Yeah.
What's like the F45, 9 rounds?
That's right. You've got your units, CrossFit, different CrossFit concepts, more or less, will kind of
Work out the day, all this stuff.
That's right.
50 to 20 minutes. It's hitting that kind of 30 minutes, all you need every day to
That's right.
to crack it, right?
I mean, even the home gyms have become more popular. Like a lot of people building home gyms at their villas and whatnot. I think that can also be a great way to kind of save on time if it's a commute, because Dubai's full of traffic these days. And sometimes like that 20-minute workout ends up being a 40-minute, 50-minute commute just to get there and back. So it's finding, I think, allocating the right way. It's restructuring the day.
Yeah.
I think parents need to be aware that there's going to have to be a restructure to fit it in.
Yeah.
But it's more than possible.
So that's interesting, wasn't it? Restructuring it. I'm sure there's loads of little hacks, that people who are listening to this right now could just implement straight away. If you had to fire off like 5 little hacks or things that they can do that would make it easier to restructure their day or easier to kind of fix the mistakes that they're making, what would those 5 things be? I'm putting you on the spot. I love it.
Put me on the spot. I think the first one's sleep.
Sleep's the first one. So the quick hack there as well.
Sleep has to be. It's like set a bedtime routine.
Okay, so hacks for sleep are bedtime routine.
Bedtime routine, put your phone away.
Yeah.
Like switch your phone off. Like it's bedtime, it's family time, work phone's off. I know it's all hustle, but there's got to be a cutoff. You cannot do any of the other steps. You cannot do anything without adequate amounts of sleep.
Yeah.
I know there'll be points where there'll be days and whatnot, but your general sleep throughout the course of the week, and I'm talking like, I function great on 6 hours.
Yeah.
So some people might function on 5. You'll know who you are if you can function well on less. And those people are generally somewhat health conscious as well, so they're probably ticking boxes elsewhere.
Right.
But if you're not,
contributes then to be able to do less.
yeah, nutrients is quality, their stress levels might be less, they meditate, so they're able to get better quality sleep. There's people sleeping 9 hours and, stress to the roof. They're not really getting quality sleep. They're eating just before bed. So just
not all time is created equally.
Exactly. So it's just quality sleep, setting a bedtime routine. That would be the first step.
So sleep's a really interesting one. I used to swear by Whoop. I'm wearing it now, and it's really useful. And I used to find it really useful, right? And then about 3 weeks ago, I got COVID. I'm sure I got COVID. And what came with that was COVID insomnia. And I was telling you about this the other day, right? And I was like, I'm up every 2 hours. I'm getting 4 hours sleep. That's it.
Yeah.
For about 2 weeks. And then the rest of your day is just like, how are you going to function?
You seem like you're functioning pretty good from what I was seeing.
I was just good at pretending.
Yeah.
So I was training, Tom was there as well. So I was, I had to train hard, just pretend everything's fine.
Yeah.
It's amazing how well you can do when you just pretend everything's all right anyway. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I just deep in my soul tired from this lack of sleep, right? And then what then happens is you look at your Whoop and not look at it because it's not, you look in your app on your phone or whatever. It tells you 3.5 hours sleep, 4 hours sleep. And so then you subconsciously put all this pressure on trying to sleep. And there's some things outside of my control in that, with this whole new COVID insomnia thing, people are calling it, where it really affects your sleep. When you get it, you'll know straight away. It's not a normal cold. It's you can't sleep for 2 weeks type thing. And what I noticed was I was looking at my phone, realizing my sleep debt is now, just expanding and expanding, and it's like eventually this is going to kill me. The compounding effect of the sleep debt. I'll never catch it up. And so it was, I'm getting 4 hours sleep, but it says I need 10. Then I need 10.5, and it's like I'm never going to catch this up. And so then you start having anxiety before you go to bed. So I was going to bed, and then it would take me an hour and a half to get to sleep because I was worried about not being able to sleep.
Yes.
I'd wake up 2 hours into it. And when I wake up, I'd worry about going back to sleep, and I'd stay awake for an hour and a half. And so this cycle kept repeating. And it was interesting because then I said, you know what, I'm just going to ditch the just going to not track sleep at all.
Yeah.
And as soon as I stopped tracking sleep got better. It's amazing how, you know, these tools can be really good.
Yeah.
But with great power comes great responsibility.
That's right. And sometimes some people get so overwhelmed, even like with the step side of things.
Yeah.
And tracking their steps, sometimes it's so overwhelming. I had a client jumping on the bed to try and get her steps over the 10K mark. And I was like, all right, like it's a rough guide. It's not the be all or end all. And it's the same with the sleep. It's like trying to find
So steps is the next hack.
I would say we can get to steps in a second. My hack before that is going to be workout in the morning.
Oh, really? What's morning then? Morning is like first thing?
I think that would vary on the person. I mean, for a few, you know, for certain people who own their own companies, etc., they might be able to go and do their workout mid-morning, so on. I think for the average person, it might be before 9.
Right.
I like to think the ones that get the best results with me will typically be the ones that are training before the kids get up.
Interesting.
What I mean by best results is the most consistent workouts. Like the ones who have never, like literally,
No one's distracted.
they will never not turn up. Like my 6 a.m. I run a group and I've got 12 people.
Wow.
There's probably about 10 of the 12 that will never miss. They're always
amazing.
There. And it's because they've allocated their workout time in the most optimal time of their day or restructured it into the best time of the day for them. And they're like, kids are up in 15, at 7, I'm out. Like I'm here till 6 or 7. And then any variable that the day throws at them, they've trained.
Yeah.
They've had that time. So that might not be early morning for some people, but know where it is, where that uninterrupted moment might be.
This is interesting. Throughout my life, I had to train at different times. Once, when I was studying at uni, I was 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. And then, you know, I would do some work, and by the time I got a slot, it's, you know, after I was washing dishes every night, and by the time I got home, sometimes it was midnight, so I trained at midnight. It was the only time I could train.
Yeah.
And then nowadays, you know, I'm able to train every single morning, and it really does set you up for a really good day. Forget the whole physical side of how you might perform better.
That's right.
Like mentally, I train about 10 a.m. every morning, and it really just sets you up. It's, you know, it's a game changer, really.
It's one of the best things. And I think from there, no matter what the day throws at you, you've got that time for you and you feel empowered by that.
Yeah.
And then that compounds, you know, all it takes, I think for people leaving it in the night, you know, something happens at school, you have to pick the kids up, dinner's not ready, you know, whatever's happening.
You're open to external factors, right?
That's right.
The second the day goes on,
you're in the ring and like anything can come at you. So it's just better to get it done.
You have a bad day at work, suddenly you don't feel like it, or, you know.
And I think with that also stems positive, you know, decision making when it comes to nutrition. You've trained, you're like, you know, I worked hard this morning. I'm going to make sure that I get a good breakfast.
Yep.
I'm going to fuel my mind. I'm going to fuel my body correctly. And then those good choices just, again, compound throughout the day.
Yeah.
Whereas I think typically for some people, if you're leaving that workout to the night, it's someone's party in the office at work, it's their birthday or this or that, snacks start coming your way. And by then you've eaten so much food throughout the day, you do not feel like training. Your sugar levels have dropped and risen about 3 or 4 times throughout.
Fasted morning training, or?
For me, I'd say it depends on the person, on how you feel. Personally, for me, I'll fast.
So fasted training,
I feel, yeah, I mean, I feel like it's down, there's so many different stats and research behind it. I think it's down to the individual sometimes too. Like half a banana can go a long way, you know, something just in the system. But it depends what time you're training to. You don't want to leave that too long. If you're not getting to the gym till 10, 11, 12 p.m., 11 a.m., then you're definitely going to probably be limiting some of your strength factors as well. It can be a little bit harder. Do you train fasted when you come in?
So my morning routine is quite full on, I guess, compared to most people's. I wake up in the morning at about 5:30, just naturally. I get to bed at about 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, perfect.
So 6 to 8 hours sleep, 8 if I'm very lucky. Normally, probably about 6:37. I do an hour and a half walk with my dogs, then I do typically an hour on my own on the walking machine.
Okay.
But in those 2.5 hours, I do all my work.
Yes.
So the majority of my work is on my phone.
Yes.
So it's WhatsApp messages, you know, voicemail. I sound on the walking machine. I sound like I'm, you know, using a photocopy machine. Yeah. On all my voice messages. But yeah, so you know, I get most of my work done there. It's reading things that people have sent me, looking at reports, going on spreadsheets, whatever it is, right? And then doing some social media stuff. And then I'll, you know, have a shake. So the shake is just like bananas, cashews, and protein powder.
Nice.
And then it's, coffee in the gym.
Yeah, good. So you've got something in the system, but it's not a big heavy meal. So
No.
that's how I tend to prefer it. Like have something in there, but it doesn't need to be like, the full, big breakfast first thing and then hit the gym. It's just
right.
going to help.
What do you think about the whole 90 minutes until you have your coffee thing? That makes a big difference to me.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I've been pushing it. So for the last probably 18 months to 2 years, now my coffee doesn't come in until 2 hours after I've woken up.
Okay.
And I'll have a liter of water by then.
Yeah.
500 mils of that will be electrolytes.
Yeah.
Like just with some sort of electrolyte, humantra based or whatever it might be. That will be the first 500 mil when I wake up, and then 500 mil electrolytes, and then the coffee will come in. And major difference. I think the amount of people that, half asleep straight to the coffee machine, and that's the first thing that goes straight.
And then they're bouncing every day from coffee to coffee, right?
And literally, they're probably not doing anything either, I can guarantee. So for most people, if that's
Just making them more anxious gradually, yeah.
anxiety just keeps building. And I think there's enough external factors in our taste, in life in general, to increase anxiety that we don't need to add to that with our caffeine. You actually mentioned a great point, Seb, when you said you're working while you're getting your steps in. So I'd say that leads us to the next point, which
My favorite subject.
yes, steps.
Anyone who's watching this is just 90% of my social media content is just me talking about walking. So
It's honestly the most undervalued thing.
Yeah.
Like the amount of times I've kind of ticked a lot of boxes with clients, and then we've kind of drawn, they're like, yeah, but I'm sleeping and I'm doing this, and my food's been clean, and I'm like, okay, there's the variables, but then I draw things back to like, well, how are your steps? Like, how's your general baseline activity? How's your needs? Like, are you moving your body throughout the day?
Yeah.
And for those that aren't really crossing that 10, I know people say, oh, the 10K number is that really an important guideline. It does make a major difference if you start to clear that line. And having, dogs obviously makes it a lot easier, because for you and I, we spend a lot of time out there. But the best part about what you're doing is you're multitasking and getting on top of your day while you're doing it. And for busy parents who might not have the time or think they don't have that time, for most of my clients and my guys, the skill you need to learn is get into the gym. Start with that, because outdoors obviously a little bit different. There's more elements that you need to take into account. But if you're on the treadmill and you can manage to multitask, send off a few emails, organize your diary, see what you've got coming up for the day, read through a few notes.
Yeah.
Not only will you burn calories, hit your steps, get your workout in potentially, but you'll also get on top of your workday. So I think that's such a great one for people to implement.
Totally. And it is interesting as well, because not everyone maybe is in that position, maybe with their own businesses, but for a lot of people who aren't and you're going to run their own businesses, they might not be able to do it the way I do it. But I've stopped doing emails. So I no longer do emails. I've got an amazing assistant who helps me with replying to emails, that sort of stuff. But everything I do is voice message.
Amazing.
I don't write anything. So that means when I'm walking, I don't need to be, getting open Gmail and trying to type things. Oh, there's a mistake and trying to fix it. I do tend to write a lot of notes. So before, when I used to do these walks, the first thing I do is I wake up and just get my shoes on and get out the door. Because a lot of the time, you're waking up and there's an element of hesitation. If you don't really feel like it. I've got a lot of arthritis, so I wake up and I'm in pain the first 20 minutes anyway. But I've learned that pain is a signal to move, not a signal to rest. And so, I just get my shoes on anyway, get out the door. And I just say to myself, the voice that wants to negotiate, I just say, I'll have that conversation outside, right?
Yeah.
And when you're outside, you're outside. Like, you might as well walk there. And if you're walking there, well, you might as well do that extra bit and go around there. And,
That's right.
And so I've got into this habit now of doing exactly the same 90-minute walk. And I end up at a little petrol station in Jebel Ali, where I just have this coffee and the dogs get some water, and it's exactly the same route. So the same habit every single day. And I speak to 10 friendly people at the petrol station when I get there. But before, I'd listen to audiobooks on the walk, right? Or, I'd try and learn or, listen to podcasts, whatever it is. Now, I just fill my time with what people would call journaling. But that, I guess, for the first 45 minutes at least of that walk, before I start getting into work, I'm writing down all of my thoughts, everything that I'm working on, my ideas around things. And I find that I'm most creative at that time. They say that people are most creative between something like 4:30 in the morning and 7:30. And I don't know why that is, but maybe it's the way in which we're closely linked to sleep at that time. But I think that if you're able to get your mind out on paper, your anxiety levels drop because you're no longer trying to think of everything. If you've got quite a full-packed, busy life, your head's so full of stuff. And it's like, if you can just empty your mind every morning,
that's right,
then you can summarize and reorganize and know what you need to prioritize yourself with. Makes such a difference. And then I just have that routine every day. you know, by the time I go to the gym, I've done 15,000 steps every day, right?
By the time you've come in when I see you in the morning, yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
I think your average each day would be plus 20.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, I wouldn't say what I do is advised, because I've got a bit of a weird relationship with steps, I think, because I for about 8 years since I had this parachuting accident, I couldn't do more than 3,000 steps because I had such bad arthritis with it. I'd do 3,000 steps and then I'd be limping for a whole day, you know, just 3,000. So my life was sedentary outside of doing jiu-jitsu on mats on the floor or lifting weights.
Yeah.
And so the daily kind of NEAT was a lot lower.
Yes.
And then as I started to really, you know, gradually force myself to push those steps up, I was doing like 30, 40,000 every single day, just outside all the time, even throughout the summer.
Yeah, so now it's like...
Now I'm like reigned it in a little bit. I realized, that, you know, like 40,000 steps it just felt like such a privilege to be able to do it. You know, I would just be feeling so happy that I could actually use my body. You only really value something when it's taken from you. And then when you suddenly feel like you're in a position to actually use the things that you've got back, you know, it feels amazing.
I think people need to take note of the next time they're not feeling sick, because a lot of people have an experience similar to yours. That's obviously a lot more serious and you know, life-changing at the time. But if you were to just use just your typical cold as an example to how debilitated that you might feel.
Yeah.
I can't do this, I can't go to the gym. Try and appreciate how good it is when you wake up feeling 100% one morning, and then people are still so quick to go, oh, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, the day before, that's all you wanted to do because you felt horrible, and that's all you wanted to do was get up and go. And now you've woken up perfect. Just try and translate that, because I think a lot of people don't value the power of that.
Yeah, totally. And this again kind of brings me to finding a great mentor who can actually keep you at it, right? And then, you know, if we're looking at, you know, this might not be one of the mistakes, but if I was to throw one in here, it would be, don't feel like you need to do it alone.
Yes.
It would be, find someone who's been there and done it before, who knows the journey you're going on and how to. A good PT in my books looks at you as someone who is trying to solve certain problems, but they already know what's coming next. Yes. They're already 3 moves ahead, right? And so they're looking at it very holistically. And I certainly found that, and it was, you know, a massive game changer for me. In your idea, in your mind, sorry, what makes a good PT?
I think there's a few points, but the main one would be communication. I think is where it has to start, being able to connect with the person, relationship building. It kind of falls into a similar banner, because I think the most important thing, especially when it comes to one-on-one coaching, it's such a different environment compared to being a group coach. I've had experiences as a group coach, football, coach, but when it comes down to actually a one-on-one environment, when it's you and that other person, is you need to be able to break through the barriers and the layers and build trust with that person. You need to have a mutual respect with that person. You need to be able to feel comfortable as a trainer to actually demand things from that person. Some trainers might not feel comfortable, or they've not yet explored that area, and I think it's somewhere they need to then focus on. It's like that communication, and it's building that, I guess that relationship with the client.
Yeah.
So that would be the first main one. But from there, it can be a few other things. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, because there's a few.
As you were saying that, it's interesting for me. A lot of people who would say they can't afford a personal trainer, then go and spend their money on other things, right? And I remember when I was, I was thinking of making the change to get a personal trainer 4 times a week, and it was very expensive. And I was like, that's actually really expensive to do. And so when I decided to do it, suddenly everything in my life that I was spending money on, restaurants, going out, all this sort of stuff, I actually saved money by having a personal trainer. It was like, I'm spending less every month.
That's right.
I've got more energy, I'm happier, and I'm spending less. It was like, this is the funny thing for a lot of people who have put themselves in a position where they actually need a personal trainer because they're going out and enjoying life too much, living the good life too much. It's like, actually, maybe the hidden benefit is they could actually save money by spending money on a personal trainer.
The amount of people that have kind of had that chat with me, and I'm being like, look, I can promise you will save money. Yeah. Even though this is an investment at the time, it will come back around, and all those drinks and all those parties and all those brunches will start to not become a priority anymore.
And then it's like your performance improves, right? So now you make better decisions during the day, which then impacts your work, which then impacts the long-term success you might have in your job or your business, whatever it is, right? So, you know, from the logical side of this, when you're not looking at the kind of health benefits, it's like when you're allocating funds towards this new mentor in your life, the ROI is massive.
That's right. It makes a major.
Like just having, if you're sort of someone who's really pushing it with your business or your job or whatever, and you're in a high performance environment, just having that mental edge, by having more clarity of thought, or having a bit more energy to be able to, you know, not necessarily do a more volume of work, but better quality work with the time you've got.
It makes all the difference.
Just like such a game changer.
Yeah, definitely. It is a big tool that people should optimize as best as they can. I've always had, I am a trainer, and I've always had a trainer.
Yeah.
Like always. Like, you know, I had the first time I entered the gym, when I first got my first job, you know, back in 2013, I was a sales guy in a gym. So that's how I actually started in fitness. I was doing my studies on the side, and I started as a sales consultant. And I saw one of the boys on the floor, one of the trainers, and I was like, I want to get a PT. So I started training with him, and he ended up actually mentoring me to actually build my own business from there. And I've always, probably every year, I've kind of invested in a trainer, and regardless of their price or whatever it might be, and I've gone through that stint and that journey with them. And there's so many, every time I go through that, I learn more and more. Yeah. And like, that's for someone being in the field who's constantly upskilling in the field, which I think is also another good skill of a good personal trainer, which would be continued education or upskilling.
Yeah.
And, you know, it might not be necessarily courses, which although they're important, it might just be taking more time to learn the industry, because it's forever changing, different types of research, different types of, whatever it might be, they should be still upskilling and always upskilling themselves. That would be the second one. The third one would be obviously being able to kind of showcase, you know, that their methodologies do have some sort of result. Right. That's probably the third one. So it'd be communication, to come back to what you said before, communication, continued education, and being able to actually take people through the journey and, you know, facilitating a result of some kind at the time.
Brilliant. If you're a parent watching this right now, and you know, you're like, yeah, cool, definitely, I need a personal trainer. Those are all the things that make a good personal trainer. How do you find one? How do you know, there's so many out there in Dubai. How do you find it the right personal trainer for you? How do you find the best one for you?
It's tricky because, like you said, there are so many. And I think the power of social media here can put so many different people in front of your eyes. And I think it's hard to sort of say there's one set methodology. There's a lot of different companies that'll shift you towards different trainers. There's lots of big major brands and organizations that promote, you know, one-on-one personal training, whatever they might be. It is hard, but I think whatever avenue you tend to go down, because for me, I could say like scroll on Insta or ask friends, get referrals. Yeah. Referrals is a good one. Like if you know somebody that's gotten a good result through a trainer, I think they're probably not a bad place to start. But let's say hypothetically you don't know anyone. I think it's still tricky to actually know what direction, besides typing it on Google.
Yeah.
But
because really, like,
what do you think? Because let me ask you that.
Yeah.
Sir, because I'm in the industry. So I don't actually, when you said that, I'm like, where would somebody go to look up a trainer? Where would you think parents would go?
I mean, so first of all, I would say it really depends on your personality type. You know, I look at how you can have two very good trainers, right? And if I was to go to, you know, the same qualifications, the same, you know, everything, but unless you're with someone who kind of gets you and has good, you know, banter with you and can really encourage you and get the most out of you, that's really hard to know until you've actually signed up.
That's right.
You'll never know until you're 3 sessions in. So the first thing I would say is you've got to try a trainer and not be afraid to stop.
Yes.
You know, that's the first thing I'd say is you're not necessarily going to find the right fit straight away.
Yeah.
I also think that you've got to look at what their typical clientele, you know, are. Who are their typical clientele? Because, you know, a lot of trainers, and I used to be a personal trainer. A lot of trainers specialize in one thing. Some are very broad, and some specialize in exactly the sort of person you are, and that's a great fit, right? And it's, you know, the stuff you do is really interesting because that's quite unique in that it's very much to do with community, and I think for a lot of people, if they can bring that into what they're doing, they're more likely to stick at it because they love the social side.
That's right.
And other people they want to absolutely smash it and be really, really pushed and just have a really highly disciplined trainer who's just like, you need to do this, this, and this. There's no other way. Make sure you get it done. Right?
I think we both know one.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you want others which are just a bit more relaxed and more about the lifestyle. And
that's right.
You know, you don't need to be the top 1%. Other people, they want to be the top 1%.
Yes.
And you need that trainer.
That's right.
Other people want to be the top 30%, 40%, or just feel like they're improving gradually.
That's so the point, because I think on that, it doesn't also mean you need to stick with that one trainer, because there are phases in your journey as an individual where your priorities might shift. And I've been so open in my time to understand when a client's now going to be better looked after by someone who's more focused in that field. I literally met a client on the weekend, and we'd sat down and we're like, all right, this is the next phase of your journey. You're wanting to kind of go down a different road. Let's see who we can find that's going to suit you better in this area. And I think as a trainer, you need to be open and encouraging clients to know where they want to go. And if you are the right person to facilitate that result, the worst thing you can do as a trainer for your brand, and obviously for the person who's investing in you, is just keep them on just because they're ticking over. And they're kind of, you from an income perspective, you're trying to keep them on. If you can help them, of course, but if you see that their shift in focus is changing, and don't be afraid.
It doesn't align with what you want. Then.
Don't be afraid. And that's for the individual too. Don't be afraid to say to your trainer, hey guys, like, this isn't, now I'm wanting to focus on this. Can we organize and facilitate this journey or not? And if not, help me find somebody else. I'm always like, look, I'll help you find the next step. You're not going to be out there in the wild again looking. We'll sit and I'll meet with that person, the three of us, and I'll update them how far you've come, where we've come, and this is where you want to go. That's important as well.
I see the same in martial arts as well. It's like this, if someone joins the Warrior Academy, they want to become a professional fighter 5 years into it, we'll say, we can say, we can do potentially one-on-ones with them, but ultimately they need to join a professional fighting gym. What we're here to do is develop character. So we've set you up now for the next phase.
That's right.
I think that's a really good way of looking at it long term. And I think people would appreciate that authenticity and transparency. But to answer your question, I think it's really hard for someone to find a trainer that suits them just from looking online, right? I mean, the gym we go to, I see some trainers and it's just, some of the stuff's dangerous. And some of them are just sort of sitting down yawning while they're training. And I think one of the things I've always appreciated about Tom is when I'm training, he's fully there. And he's not distracted and I think that's really important. There's so many qualities that make a good trainer, but finding one is tough.
It's hard because not even the trainers that necessarily look the best are the best.
Yeah, exactly. The one with the most following and all the pictures and everything. You don't know, they could be too big for their boots and, not even interested in you when you're actually training you. And, it's really difficult. I think one of the strongest ways of finding a good PT is through a referrer. Someone who's been there with someone who's they're looking for the same thing as you.
That's right.
And I try and refer a lot of people to my trainer because I'm like, this is exactly the right thing for you. For other people, I say it's not the right fit. For you, this is the right fit.
Which is good. It's nice that they're able to have that niche and be able to help that demographic as well and optimally as they are. I think too many trainers are also spread too thin across the whole general population, that they're not actually able to dial in on and help one specific niche of people either. And that's something that, as a trainer, I think I've been able to narrow down over the years to kind of know who it is that I want to focus on. And just kind of, make sure that I'm applying and supplying everything that those people need to kind of move forward. So it is important.
Cool. Brilliant chat. I think we've covered a lot from, the typical mistakes parents make, and fostering a healthy environment at home to develop that kind of focus on health and nutrition and an active lifestyle. Looking at habits, we've gone over that a lot. The sleep as well, and then finding a good trainer. Brilliant insights for anyone watching this. I'd like to finish with one question for you. What is it that lights you up? What do you love most about what you actually do day in, day out?
I love seeing confidence in people. I'll always, when anyone asks me this, I always think back to a moment where I took 3 individuals from totally different walks, three guys. They came to me totally out of shape. They looked probably 20 years older than their actual age. We went through a 12-week transformation process, similar to what you would have potentially gone through at certain points, or different people you would have known at different points. Anyway, we went through this journey. And I'll never forget the day that they came in. We did a bit of a shoot together. We did a bit of a lifestyle shoot, a bit of posing on different equipment and whatnot. We all went for lunch afterwards. And the aura that I felt off these guys, of how good and strong they felt. They'd all had 6 packs they'd never seen before. To see somebody change and their confidence improve so much, is such a fulfilling feeling for me. And it wasn't the visual there in that moment. It was the lead up to that moment over the 12 to 16 weeks, where just the things they were saying to me in their general life about how they were acting, how other people were speaking with them or treating them, their dating life improving, like little things like this as a character that then I could see translate to, obviously at that point it was a great after photo where they look like, a Spartan warrior almost. But, that's the short-term focus. The focus that I'd loved and that's kept with them even to now is that their confidence had totally changed. So for me, when I go into every session or every time I'm with somebody, it's like I want to see that confidence from that person. I want to see them, unlock that confidence from within, and I think it's so important.
Sounds very aligned to us. It's like the best feeling in the world as a martial artist, as a martial arts instructor, is just watching someone walk in without confidence and walk out with confidence, right? Not necessarily one day, but the compounding effect on that.
Yeah.
Watching someone complete something that was just so outside of their comfort zone and just seeing them grow from it.
That confidence can be contagious. Like for instructors, for colleagues, for the people around them, that one person can inspire so many. So it's like for us, we both kind of have the capacity to try to send as many people out there with that confidence. I think the world will be a better place.
Yeah.
So I
think that's a brilliant mission, mate. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I really hope you enjoyed today's Warrior Academy podcast episode. We're going to keep creating these episodes because I know that so many parents find them useful or get insights or get ideas about how to develop their child's character. But it all comes down to the 3 C's: confidence, conduct, and concentration. So if you want to get a deep insight into the levels of confidence your child has, the level of concentration they have, or the level of conduct they have, so that you can actually put a score next to it and then work towards increasing those scores like we do in the Warrior Academy, then I'd love to invite you to fill in the breakthrough area assessment. It takes about 5 minutes of your time and you will get a personalized PDF report on your child's 3 C's. To access the breakthrough area assessment and find out your child's 3 C's score, all you need to do is go to www.breakthrougharea.com.